Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to an abundance of Toronto Raptors news. Riker and I were planning on making a full video tonight, breaking down all the updates and getting your guys' opinions with all the new information, but with everything that's come out, we decided we'll make a video this afternoon, this evening, whatever time you're watching this, whatever it comes out, and we'll break all this down, and then tonight it gives us a chance to plug our plan to bring back the segment everyone loves, You Said It, Not Us, and we'll break down your guys' trade scenarios in a full live stream tonight. But rather than getting an influx of DMs and messages with paragraphs breaking down all these trade scenarios that we've been getting on the Instagram, we've decided to say, hey, you guys make a story, explain your trade in a 15 to 30 second video, tag at Raptors Digest, make sure you're following us, and then you guys will have a chance to get actually featured in tonight's video. We'll play your story in the video, and Riker and I, along with the chat, will all react to your trade scenario. So we're plugging that early in this video because I think that'll be a really fun format, really great way to get your guys' opinions to get a chance to get featured on the video. So I'm plugging that here, but I'm going to play the segment because we have so much to talk about in this video. That's right, there's a massive news update. There's a lot of things to talk about. And the first guy we'll speak about is Norman Powell, as he seems to be our prime trade chip right now in terms of being a younger guy than Kyle Lowry, shooting 40+% from the three-point line, averaging almost close to a 20-piece, and that has made him a very prime trade target for a lot of teams around the NBA, and specifically the Brooklyn Nets, the Dallas Mavericks, the Celtics, the New York Knicks, the Atlanta Hawks, and the T-Wolves have all had trade discussions involving Norman Powell, and that's an exhaustive list. And the big name that's been talked about, especially because they're the most championship, the team in most championship contention, is the Brooklyn Nets. They've been the most talked about today. Brian Windhorst came out and really drove that to death earlier this morning and said that a deal involving Norman Powell to the Nets would likely be centered around a Spencer Dinwiddie swap, and obviously the Raptors would have to get more assets, as Spencer Dinwiddie is a guy with an ACL injury and is a free agent at the end of this year. So it's an interesting dichotomy. I said in the last video as a report came out that the Brooklyn Nets are asking for a second-round pick and a role player for Spencer Dinwiddie, as all the things I mentioned has really tanked his value. And when I heard that report, I was all on board with getting Spencer Dinwiddie. If we can get him on the cheap, it makes complete sense to bring him in here. He won't hurt the tank. We'll have his bird rights to re-sign into the future. We have a great medical staff, so it'll be a perfect fit to acquire him, get him in on the roster. But Norman Powell, Spencer Dinwiddie is the main return for a Norman Powell trade. The Brooklyn Nets have no first-round picks. That's a yuck. That's a nope. Big nope for me. If we're getting Spencer Dinwiddie, I want it to be maybe a second or two for a Stanley Johnson type of person, not the guy that's been our best player of the season, our most consistent player of the season. That's not something I want to see happen. I don't want to see Norman Powell trade it regardless unless we're getting a massive player back. And with that being said, Spencer Dinwiddie is just not that guy. That is not a deal. The other teams mentioned, the Mavericks, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Hawks, they all have better pieces to bring back. And the reason I don't think it's going to happen, firstly, because Masai Ujiri knows what he's doing. From all accounts, he won us a championship and all that. Yes, he lost the Serge Ibaka thing, but the Raptors aren't that incompetent to give up Norman Powell just for Spencer Dinwiddie, and they don't have picks, they don't have other assets. I mentioned in a comment on our Instagram post that the only return I want to see from the Brooklyn Nets is James Harden if we're trading Norman Powell over there. So that's that. But the reason I definitely don't think it's going to happen is because, well, firstly, Raptors aren't going to include Norm. I'm off the Spencer Dinwiddie bandwagon because apparently the Miami Heat have offered to the Brooklyn Nets Kendrick Nunn, Avery Bradley, and another piece that I don't have pulled up. Kendrick Nunn, Mo Harkless, and Avery Bradley. The Raptors, Spencer Dinwiddie is not worth that considering he's a free agent. Yes, he's a 21 point per game scorer. Yes, he's a guy that could significantly bounce back, but you're taking a risk bringing him in. He's likely going to decline the player option. He's going to get a bag from some team this season. And if you're just giving up a second-round pick and a Stanley Johnson, it helps your tank. You get his bird rights, and it gives you a better chance of signing him. But you're not competing with that Miami Heat deal. I don't want to see that happen. I don't really understand why the Heat would do that. I know Kendrick Nunn has had a rougher season. He really hasn't had the star performance that he showed in his rookie year. But the fact they're willing to give up all that, certainly the Nets are going to command a much higher trade value than what was reported a couple days ago in terms of that second, Stanley Johnson. So I want to give that little update right there. Still, the Raptors are still connected to the Brooklyn Nets and the Spencer Dinwiddie. So it might happen. I'm just giving my opinion, my take, that I do not want to see that happen. Unless 3-team deal, unless we get some stuff back. That's the update right there. But the guy that's most sentimental, the guy that is most heart-wrenching, if you watched the podcast last night, you saw a 2-minute stretch where Riker and I were very deflated in realizing that it could possibly be Kyle Lowry's last game as a Toronto Raptor last night in that 9-game to cap off an 8 or 9-game losing streak to a team that just lost 20 straight. It was a tough moment, but we've all kind of accepted that it's probably the right thing to do, and that is what it is. But the asking price coming out from Austin Krell. So apparently, according to this source, Austin Krell, the asking price for Kyle Lowry right now is 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and 2 players. So that fits exactly the sort of line that we've been seeing from these trade scenarios with other teams, and that includes the Miami Heat getting a big contract guy to make the money match, and then Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. And another report regarding that Miami Heat trade is that Precious Achiuwa would likely be in a deal with Kyle Lowry for Kyle Lowry with the Miami Heat. So he's a guy I am very interested in. He's a young, athletic, big man that's been touted as the next Bam Adebayo. Obviously, those are very high standards to potentially meet, but the Heat already have a Bam Adebayo who's also young, who's also this, so maybe they see him as expendable. I don't know if that would be included in the offer with a Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero, but if we got Hero, or we're not getting Hero. I'm not going to convince myself of that. That would be too optimistic. If it happens, I will be gladly wrong. I will be gladly open to it. I will say, oh geez, every time on the podcast. I got the shirt on. My name is covering it right now. I'm gonna flex a little merch. We're trying out some merch right now. It's on the way. We've been sneaking it in the videos, so hope you guys like that. But I will say, oh geez, I'll play the segment here as soon as it happens, if we get Tyler Hero. But if we got a return of Duncan Robinson, a Precious Achiuwa, the 2 players that are in this asking price for Kyle Lowry, and 2 first-round picks, that is a gorgeous return. A gorgeous return. Again, maybe that's asking for a little bit too much. Obviously, as a team, when you're a fan of a team, you're going to be a bit more of a homer. You're going to be a bit more high on your guys. So maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe it's just 1 first-round pick. Maybe it's just Precious and Kelly Olynyk and Kendrick Nunn or something like that. We'll see what occurs. I don't want to get my hopes up too high for a massive return, but this asking price, it's really nice to see for a Kyle Lowry, for these sorts of things. But there's more Kyle Lowry news to talk about, and Brian Windhorst, he had a lot of things to say about the Toronto Raptors earlier today. He came out and said that essentially what's going on now is this is Kyle Lowry's free agency period. This is the time where this is because he's a free agent now. His contract, for people that don't know, expires this summer. So the hesitancy for the Toronto Raptors to keep him long term is the expectation that Kyle Lowry will want out and want to play for a contender in his twilight years. And that makes complete sense. The Raptors have struggled this season. He wants to go push for a championship in his later years. He doesn't want to just be in a rebuilding system or a retooling system, so to speak. And the Miami Heat have obviously been a team like that. The Sixers have been a team noted. But essentially what's going to happen right now is there's an expectation. This is a quote from Brian Windhorst. There's an expectation that Kyle Lowry is going to have a new contract by the end of this week. So it's either going to be to stay in Toronto, to go to Miami, or to go to Philadelphia. So for the people that don't want to trade Kyle Lowry, and after this losing streak, I haven't seen many of these people around. I've been one of the final people to hold on to wanting to keep Kyle Lowry. And for all those people, there's a little bit of hope left. A little bit of hope that potentially the Raptors will re-sign Kyle Lowry, give him a contract extension. Ideally, it wouldn't be the $30 million per year or something like that, but to ensure that if we don't trade him at this year's deadline, he'll be with the team long term. And that's the biggest issue, and that's my reasoning to want to trade Kyle Lowry. As if Kyle Lowry leaves, if we don't trade Kyle Lowry and he leaves in the offseason, that's just, after losing Kawhi, after losing Serge Ibaka, to a lesser extent after losing Marc Gasol for nothing, that would just hurt really bad to see the Raptors go. And it wouldn't be, Kawhi, I felt bad about. And I'm not trashing on Kawhi, right? I got his jersey up here, right here. Like, I don't have any hate towards Kawhi, but I felt a bit not backstabbed, but a bit cheesed. That's the best word to put it as when he left. Winning a championship to go to a team that they don't have the same roster, and I don't know. I was cheesed when Kawhi left. Serge Ibaka, I think it was on both sides. Masai Ujiri messed up. Serge Ibaka also messed up because he did leave the Toronto Raptors to go to play on a team with less money. There's nothing, I've been a Serge Ibaka apologist. A lot of people hate the guy after he did that deal. I don't hate him, obviously. The Raptors lowballed him, and they shouldn't have. But he did leave on, and we got nothing back for him. So to see the Raptors go, there'd be no animosity towards Kyle Lowry if he left, but to see him potentially leave for nothing would just be a horrific look for the team, for the morale, and all these sorts of things. That's the biggest reason to trade Kyle Lowry. But if we sign him to a contract extension, try to squeeze the last bit of value left out of him, acquire a center, build back up for this year, or maybe tank and get a player so we can go into next season, Lowry is still a phenomenal asset. He'll be a great player to have in terms of a team that wants to go on moving forward, and he'd age out to be a perfect backup point guard for this team. My apologies. My camera just died there, so I'm recording this 20 minutes later. I charged up the battery a little bit, so to reiterate, Kyle Lowry, his free agency contract, I'm not sure if I explicitly said this prior to the camera dying, but the Toronto Raptors, if Kyle Lowry's going to stay, they'd ideally want to keep him long term. They wouldn't want him to walk in the offseason, as that would be a horrible look for this team. And so essentially what Brian Windhorst came out and said was that Kyle Lowry is going to be signing his contract. He's going to his free agency is happening now. So whatever team he gets traded to, or if the Raptors decide to retain him, that's where he will be in the long term. He will not go to a team and then not sign with them. And Windhorst came out and explicitly said that he expects Lowry to have a new contract by the end of this week. So that means there will be money added, there will be years added to his current deal. So he'll no longer be a free agent in 2021, which would be great if the Raptors kept him. It would be great if he gets traded to another team. And the great thing about that, I'm saying great a lot, is that ups his trade value, as he isn't looked at as a rental by the Sixers or the Miami Heat, even though I don't think they'd expect him to be a rental regardless of if he signed a new contract or not. That's the Kyle Lowry news. That's essentially everything I wanted to get into. I apologize for the jarring stop there. There was a report that came out saying the Raptors have fined Pascal Siakam for $50,000 after directing several heated choice words towards Nick Nurse following the loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers. This was posted by Sham, so this was the report that I thought would be most credible, least hard to come out, and thankfully my camera died, as I would have just said that at the end. The Raptors media people have come out and said that's just wrong. That just didn't happen. But Shams is a pretty credible source. Tough to really tell what really happened there. Again, there is turmoil currently in the Raptors locker room. For as bad as up and down this year has been, the Raptors aren't bad enough to be going on a 9-game losing streak, specifically with losses coming to the Detroit Pistons a couple times and the Houston Rockets, who lost 20 straight. So it makes sense that there's a bit of turmoil in the locker room. Siakam was benched in the Cleveland Cavaliers game. I don't know if the reports are true. I won't dive too much into it, as the Raptors came out and explicitly denied it. But it is what it is. You guys are the best for making this far. We're on the road to 20k subscribers. Lowry's face is still driving that car, so hopefully you guys can all subscribe to the channel. And I'm really excited to get this video on the go tonight with the You Said It Not Us take. So as I'm posting this video now, I'm going to say it as a reminder. Post your Instagram stories. We're going to take those and integrate them into the podcast tonight. That'll be your chance to get on the video with Riker, and I will react to your trades and tag the Raptors Digest. Make sure you're following us. And yeah, that's all the exciting stuff. Hit the like section if you want to see a trade. Check out the Instagram, as I said. Follow us if you want to get on there. The Twitter, the TikTok, the RaptorsDigest.ca, all that cool stuff. Anyways, before my camera dies again, I'm signing off. Cheers.